Okay, you guys, good morning. Happy Saturday. I'm outside right now, just sunbathing. Oh, this feels so good. I'm sunbathing right now, you guys. I'm allowing the sun to recharge me, but not only that, getting sun helps with your melatonin, and it helps with your serotonin in your brain. It helps you to feel good. It helps you to feel relaxed. It helps you to feel re energized. And if I were on the beach right now, I would just be laying on the beach in the sand and allowing the waves of the ocean to hit my feet. And I would be embracing the sun. And I absolutely love nature. I love being in nature, and I definitely love being outside. So I typically do my meditations outside 20, 30 minutes a day, especially in the morning time when it's not too hot or it's not too cold, just to get that those sunbeams. Okay. And black people, the sun can't hurt us. The sun is our food, so it can't hurt us. I can't speak for other people, but I know for black people, melanated people, we need sun. Okay. So I wanted to get on here because you guys are reading the title correctly. Um, that most men will be forever single for a very long time. And here's why. I don't know who is schooling you men on how to date women, but a lot of y'all don't do a good job at dating women. And just in a very short amount of time that I have been out here observing the dating world over the last couple of years, it's the same script with you men over and over and over and over and over and over again. And how you approach women. And I am convinced that um, the reason why love exists is because, or the idea of it exists, is because there are a bunch of poor men out here trying to have relationships with women when they know that they don't qualify for relationships with women. And a lot of you men don't qualify for relationships with women. You don't. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You don't qualify. You don't have what it takes to have a relationship with a woman mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, or financially. And what has happened here is the government has put a whole lot of broke men into society and told them to get out here and find a partner to date, knowing that they're all messed up. And they have convinced themselves that they are entitled to certain types of women because they are a man and because they have a job and etc. What we're learning here is you having a job, you being a man, isn't enough for you to qualify for a woman. The patriarchal system was built for wealthy men, men who had money, men who have money, men who have the criterias and the critique qualify to have access to certain women. Men who make a lot of money, they end up with the most beautiful looking women out here who can give them children and marry them and etc. You men, you average men who are way at the bottom of this hierarchy of this system, you don't qualify for that. You don't qualify for that. You have convinced yourself that you do, but you don't. And the government has done a really bad job uh, telling you men that. You think you think your mediocrity is enough to get a woman, and it's not. It's not. You know, if you're not a rich man, marriage is not going to benefit women. It's not. What am I saying, ladies? What am I saying? I'm saying that this whole entire thing with men and marriage and love, it's all one big scam to give poor men the opportunity to have a slave. Because it's pretty much what this is coming down to and what this is. This is to give poor men who don't have the resources or money the opportunity to have a slave wife. Because that's really what marriage is. That's really what this is. The majority of these men know that they don't qualify for a wife. They love the idea of having a wife to control, and they love the title of marriage because it gives them a sense of power or leverage or even some kind of recognition. But in actuality, these men know that they don't qualify for that. But where the problem is, these men have not woken up to the idea that they're also being controlled by the government. You men have convinced yourself that you are entitled to a wife. And most of you are not entitled to a wife. You're not entitled to submission. And this is why you're running around here talking about submission, is because that is the only thing that you have to control over women. And what is submission? Submission is religion. And this is why these men love using religious dogma as a way to get you to submit to them. Well, the Bible said X, Y, and Z. And if you don't marry a man, I've had men tell me, if you don't marry a man, you're going to go to hell. So they go and they nitpick out of the Bible certain scriptures to use as a weapon against women. But what they fail to realize, there's also a scripture in there that talks about if you don't want to marry and you choose not to marry, then you are supposed to remain single and celibate and marry into the church. And that's in First Corinthians. These men love picnicking things out of the Bible to fit their narrative when they want to get control, or they feel like they're losing control of women. And at the end of the day, men, you're not entitled to a wife. You're not entitled to access to a woman. You have to put in the work in order to have that. And in order to get that, that's not something you're owed. That's something you have to work for. How do you think all of these men out here who are married got their wives? These men had to do the work. They had to do the work. They had to be of some kind of importance or addition in their women's lives, in these women's lives. They didn't come empty-handed. And back then, men who wanted to get married and things like that, they had to offer up monumentality assets, monetary assets, things like houses and cars and money and land and resources. They didn't just go and marry women. They actually had to go and get permission from these women's fathers in order to marry them. And then once they did that, they had to give the family something as a gift for the wives. So marriage is nothing more but a business construct. It's nothing more but slavery. And it has been pushed on men as a way to control women, but not only that, as a form of enslavement. And women are not going back to the 1950s. We're not going back to an era that we never lived and our great-great-grandmothers went through. Because back then, those women didn't have a choice. They had to marry a man in order to survive. Women now, men, we don't need you to survive. We don't need to go and get permission to, go open up a checking account or a bank account or any of that, or go buy a house or go buy a car. Back then, women had to do that. And even when it came down to voting, if you ladies didn't know this, women had to get permission from their husbands in order to go and vote. And they had to have a written letter from their husbands, and they had to take it to the voters registration office back then, along with their ID. And there were a series of tests that they had to do in order to get their registration card. And back then, black women we were treated very harsh when it came to that, because they didn't want black women to be able to vote. They didn't want black women to be able to vote. They also did not want black women to have any kind of leverage in society, because the white woman could do all that. And that's where all of this DEI stuff is coming into play. Why, these 30 something thousand black women lost their corporate jobs. And what did black men do? They sat back and they laughed. Because this is men's way to put women back into self-servitude. So when I get on here and I'm talking about certain things and I'm telling y'all to get out here and vote and know what you're voting for and understand what's happening, well, this is what's happening. What do you think all of this DEI stuff is? It is to literally push black people back way in the back of the line to give white people the upper hand in society. That's what this is all about. And if you are a non-black person and you come here with all that bullshit, I'm going to block you, because that's exactly what's going on. All of this with segregation and all this shit here. You people, you racist cucks, you voted for this shit. You voted for this. You voted for this. You voted for this administration to set black people back. And even with black people being set back so far, and you having a 400-year starting game, you as a non-black person, you still can't get ahead in life. Why is that? And I'm talking to you racist cucks. All of you MAGA people that love coming to my channel, talking all this crazy shit in my comment section and in my lives and stuff. You guys had a 400-year starting thing, and you still can't get ahead in society. Why is that? Because you don't want to see other races of people get ahead of you. So I don't give a damn if they do bring segregation back. And you want to know why I don't give a damn if they do bring it back and it does become a thing? Is because we really need to get away from a lot of y'all. We need to get away from a lot of y'all who are a detriment to black people. And y'all trying to find any and everything to get black people upset. And at the end of the day, y'all, if America said we're going to redo the election over, you people would vote the same way every time. Because as long as this system is here, it benefits you as a white person. You heard me correctly. As long as white supremacy is here, it benefits you as a white person. Because you have an upper hand when it comes to white privilege. And this system has been benefiting you and your grandchildren and your great-grandmother and everybody else. Regardless of how you feel about this administration and your woes and, I don't support Trump as a white person, it still does not change the fact your white privilege will always be a honorary badge within this country compared to the black man and the black woman. And you people will find any and everything you can to not understand that and that complacent. So at the end of the day, this is why we're seeing all of this stuff happen. But see, men, the reason why you guys are going to be single a very, very long time is because you refuse to let this monogamy go. You refuse to let this sexism go. You refuse to let the chauvinism go. All of this stuff that's harmful to women, oppression, you refuse to let it go. Why? Because it benefits you under the system. It gives you a sense of power. And that's why I told the ladies over here, it does not matter what position these men are in politically, whether they're a conservative, liberal, moderate, Republican, as long as this administration is here, men are going to benefit from this system. Men are going to benefit from this system. And the reason why they're going to benefit from this system is because this administration holds all of the power. That's why they're going to benefit. And as long as these men are here, they're going to benefit from the system and women. Until you men let this system go, we're not really going to get anywhere. We're not going to get anywhere. But see, y'all didn't want Kamala. You didn't want her. You didn't want a woman of color in the White House. You wanted Trump. And this is why all of this is happening right now in this country. Because everything that you men stand for, you voted for it. You voted for everything that Trump stands for and everything Trump hates. That's why you voted for this administration. Now you're out here crying about being lonely. Well, who did you vote for? Who did you vote for? Did you vote for Donald Trump? Did you vote to make America great again? Because women are going to ask you that question when you approach them. Who did you vote for? And if you tell them that you voted for this administration, why do you think you're going to have a chance with a woman? Why do you think you're going to have a chance with a liberal woman or any woman for that matter? No woman is going to take you serious if you're out here voting against women's rights and you want women's rights to be taken. And then now you're out here lying about your political status. But women can tell who you voted for by your demeanor and by how your views on certain things. So you won't be able to hide that. I've told the women here not to date any of you men in this country within the next at least the next 4 years. And the reason why I told the women not to date any of you men here is because you American men need to learn a valuable lesson. You need to learn a hard lesson when it comes to women. You keep coming for women's rights. You don't get to have access for women. Okay? You keep coming for women's rights. You don't get to have access to women. All of this entitlement because the patriarchs have said so. We don't care about the patriarchal system, men. We don't care about that anymore. We don't care about any of this what you men are talking about. And furthermore, you don't have to be lonely because you guys can date each other. You can date each other and have a relationship with each other if you're that lonely. But you don't get to take women's rights away or vote against women's rights rather. Because what women ought to do, they ought to start making you show they ought to start making you men show your voter's registration card. We need to see your voter's registration card to know who you voted for. I think that's going to be a valuable piece. Everybody in America should have a voter's registration card. I need to know who you voted for. And they should ask you a series of questions pertaining to your political views on this climate. You know, who you support and how you feel about this and how you feel about that. But no, you don't get to take women's rights away or strip women or to attempt to strip women's rights away. and then think you're going to have access to women. It doesn't work like that. And you would have to be a fool to think that this is how it's going to be out here. Ladies, I really don't feel sorry for men of today. I don't. And the reason why I don't feel sorry for a lot of men is because they put themselves in this situation, especially coming for women's rights. And then thinking they're going to have access to women. So I just wanted to get on here and share this because I don't think people understand that voting comes with consequences. How you choose to vote determines a lot of things for the future. And many people have made the conscious choice to vote the way that they did because they honestly thought that it was going to hurt other people. That's what they thought. And in actuality, all of this is backfiring on everybody, regardless if you voted for this man or you didn't. Um, yeah, unless you American men really change your ways and your views on women, most of you are never going to get a woman. You're never ever going to get a woman, especially with the mindsets that a lot of you men have towards women. Because this is why all of this is happening. Your mindset about women is why you don't have a woman. And then a lot of y'all have been sitting down consuming red pill rhetoric and manosphere teachings and all of this stuff that is harmful and how you see women. And there's actually a documentary, a manosphere documentary about how that community grooms men to hate women. And you can actually watch the documentary like on Hulu or something like that. I would need to figure out how to watch it. But yeah, these men and these groups like Red Pill and all of these incel groups, it's literally teaching these men how to hate women. And these are the same men sitting up online talking about why they don't have a woman. Because you have been groomed to hate women. Your mindset has been contaminated with all kind of information that is literally dangerous rhetoric that you're hearing about women. Any men coming out of manosphere, men going their own way, passport bro, all of this stuff here is why you're at the place you're at when it comes to you and not having access to a woman. And I know a lot of you black men, y'all are red pill, and y'all have been sitting down listening to this stuff. Yeah. And that's another reason why black women have divested. Because we know that you guys make up the black community in red pill. Yeah. Red pill community is mostly a lot of you weird, incel-y, grapey types of black men. It's really bad. And unfortunately, women, a lot of women are coming more self-aware of some stuff. A lot of gamer types of dudes sit up in these red pill spaces and this is all this is all you males do. You just sit around and play games all day, video games all day, obsessed behind women and stuff like that. You're the type of males we need to get rid of and avoid. And I've come across a lot of red pill types of black men here lately, and a lot of incels. And I can tell you're an incel. I can tell you're weird. You're not normal. Let's just put it that way. You're just you're just weird. You're just outcasted. You're just a neat. You're just I don't you're just a imbecile. I can tell. And I did tell the ladies here there's multiple layers to this incel stuff. Because there are incels out here who are not, into women, and they're not into sex with women, and they kind of have their little kink fetishes and stuff. But I've met a lot, and I've talked to them, and they're real cool and laid back, and they're harmless. But you got some of these other types of incels, man. They're too dangerous in society. They will absolutely get out here and harm women and stuff. And that's why you guys are seeing about all of this femicide and marticide and self-annihilation types of stuff, because that's those types of incels, the ones who should not be out here in society. They're not only a danger to women and children, they are a danger to themselves, because they will take out themselves and somebody else with them. But there are incels out here who are harmless. They live a very isolated, quiet, private life. They know that they're not going to get laid. They know that they can't get a woman, so they just kind of live a nomad life. Versus women like me, look, it's nothing to get out here and get sex. It's nothing to get attention from a man. But women like me are choosing to stay single because we see what's going on out here. Incels who can't be single, who can't, get out here and get a relationship, and they have no choice but to be single because they can't get a relationship, they can't get laid, they can't get a woman. They often live a very private nomad life because they know that they just don't have it to get out here and get a woman, And then you have women like me. If I want sex, I have men throw themselves at me all the time. Not to get off into that. I'm just making a point. It's nothing for me to get sex. It's nothing for me to get the attention from a man, a date with a man. No problem in that area. The issue is a lot of you men lack emotional intelligence and critical thinking skills to be considered leaders or providers or any of that. That's where a lot of you are shortcoming, because you lack those components for some reason. And it is because you're refusing to evolve and grow and understand and adapt to change and learn and compromise and let the ego go. And if a lot of you men would let the ego go, you would get a whole lot further in life than where you're at. But as long as you're hanging on to the ego and trying to control women and humble women and dominate women, you're never going to get anything. Long as you keep dismissing women and not allowing women to have a partnership and a relationship with you and teamwork, you're never going to have a woman. Your negative views, your negative views about women is why you're never going to get a woman. And you men don't understand that. You don't understand that. I'm more concerned about the dangerous types of incels who have the grapey mindset, the if I can't get a woman, I'm just going to do X, Y, and Z. Those types. The ones who can't stand being alone in their own solitude. You know, those are the types of incels that I pay attention to, especially the ones who are on here with rage bait content all day, every day, complaining about women because their harmful rhetoric will actually lead, and that's what's going on. It's leading a lot of you men straight to nowhere, really straight to a grave, listening to that content all day, and or all kind of diseases, you know, in the body. Because if I'm sitting down listening to negative content all day about women, that's going to start impacting my health and everything. And that's what's going on with you men. You're literally becoming sick listening to this type of content that you're consuming here on YouTube and TikTok and everywhere else. I personally don't have time for it. You men need to deprogram not only from the system, but from the content that you're listening to that's harmful. And where the problem is coming into play, you're going back in society with these views, trying to use it on women. And that's why women are calling you men weapons of mass destruction. Because you're literally learning this hateful content here, and then you're getting back out in society thinking that this is how you're going to deal with women, just how you've been taught. Good luck to that. Because women are no longer signing up for that crap. And we're no longer listening to you men on here complain about women all day. So you call men who get on here who call you out simps, like Bernie and other black men who are on here, like Controversial Shannon. Black men who are calling you out on your bullshit, you attack those types of men and call them simps, but they have wives. Controversial Shannon and other black men on here who have been calling you out, like Amiri Brown. These are black men married to black women and have families. You don't have a wife. You don't have a family. You don't have a family. These men have wives, and they're in healthy, loving marriages with their wives, but you're not. And you're never going to get that as long as you have the views that you have about women. So ladies, continue to decenter these men, because as long as they're going down this path that they have chosen to go down, they're going to forever be where they're at, stuck and miserable and bitter and angry and incels. And they are turning into more incels as long as they continue down the path that they have chosen. And you know, what they're talking about and what they're doing holds no weight to decentered and divested black women, or any woman who has chosen to decenter or divest. It's not holding any weight on us. Actually, we don't even care about what you men are talking about. So not only are we decentering from you toxic men, we decentering a lot of you toxic women who are male centered and pygmies, and you can see these men out here harming women and you won't even say a word or even bat an eye. You're just as dangerous as these men are. And that's why I don't associate with pygmies or male-centered women or any woman who has not awoken to what's going on to women out here. These are the same women who have daughters and nieces, and they would sacrifice those women for the sake of men in the system. They are actually setting women up, because a lot of these pygmies and male-centered women, they have sons. A lot of these older women have sons, and they need their sons to have a wife. But the problem is, when women decenter men, well, that exempts their sons. So, unfortunately, until men change, you men are not going to get anything. You're not going to get anything. And we as women, we're going to have to get control of this situation, especially politically and just on multiple levels, economically and even financially. Because if you think decentering men is going to fix this problem, that is a start. We're actually going to have to get away from these men. We're going to have to start building communities online and in person privately for the safety of women and children. That's it. Because these men are not going to change. They're not going to listen, and they're actually not going to actually do anything to fix this problem. They're just going to keep on playing victim, keep on blaming women, and they're going to get angry and angry when they realize that they don't have access to women like they think they do. And that they're doing it right now. They're having an evident moment right now because they're not getting what they want, and they're getting angry and angry and angry, and they're getting frustrated. And a man who has nothing to lose is a dangerous man. These men are going to start the enticing of male violence is going to get worse than what it is. So if you are a woman in this country, you need to limit and distance yourself from a lot of men. Because you'll be surprised that a lot of your fathers, your uncles, and men that you look up to, they feel the same way as a lot of these men online. And many of them voted for Trump. So what makes you think you safe under your daddy's provision or any other man's provision in your family? I don't put nothing past the men in my family. And the reason why I say that is because most of them are married and dealing with white women. And I don't trust black men who date out. So if you are a black man who dates outside of his race, I don't trust you. You telling me you telling me all of these black women out here and you couldn't find one black woman you can be with? You had to go marry a white woman? And I'm not here to tell anybody who to marry or who to date, but I often look at black men who date out kind of suspicious. I look at you guys kind of suspect. I look at you guys kind of suspect because if you can't find no value or beauty in your own race of women, something is wrong with you. And I've had black men tell me, I couldn't find a good black woman. That's because you're probably not a good black man. That's what I'm learning. I'm learning that you're not as quality as you think you are. So let that sink in, because I come across decent men all the time, black men. Black and white and everything. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, no, what it is, you just don't want good women. You don't want college educated, hard working types of black women because you consider them masculine. You want women that you can control, and getting with a white woman gives you that access. So it makes sense why you guys go and you date out. You're not getting quality non-black women. You're getting pick-me's. You're getting pick-me's. That's what you end up with when you date out. You get with white women who are obsessed with you just as much as you're obsessed with them. That's why I don't care about neither one of y'all when you date out. Because for each one of you who do that, you're breeding yourselves out. But not only that, you're weeding yourselves out from black women. And this is why we end up with non-black men who appreciate those things that you don't. So not only are you losing black women, you're not getting quality non-black women either. And that's why I don't care about when they get on here and they're talking about how they're going to go do this and do that. As a black woman, I don't care. Because I'm not losing any sleep not dealing with you black men. I promise you. And not only that, I'm not winning anything either dealing with most of you men. So that's why women like me are 4B. Because we realize there's no benefit in dealing with you men at all, regardless of what race you are, especially under this system. So what you're really fighting with women like me is our peace. That's it. Outside of that, what you're talking about is irrelevant. Because if you're not adding anything into a woman's life, you're not benefiting her. You're actually a subtraction and a detriment. And that's why women are choosing to be single. Because you're not actually bringing anything of substance to the table other than just you, your penis, and money that we can all get out here on our own. I make money. I mean, I'm not coming with a penis in my hand, but I'm coming as myself, right? And if penis is something that I want, it's not hard to get. It's not hard to get. It's definitely not hard to get. Plenty of people out here sleeping around and unfortunately passing STDs and without any kind of moral compass. It's not hard to get, men. It's not. You got to come with more than just what's between your legs and what you have in your pocket. You now have to come with some critical thinking skills and emotional intelligence and hindsight and compassion and empathy and sympathy. And a lot of you men don't have that because that's something that your parents should have taught you. But unfortunately, they failed you too as a man. So now you're out here thinking that women are supposed to pick up the broken pieces of you and fix you together, get you together for them. I don't train men. I don't train men and I don't teach men. And if you don't know how to approach a woman and you don't know how to deal with a woman, then you don't need to be out here dating. I don't train men. I don't teach men. I'm not about to tell you what you've done wrong. I'm not one of those women. It's kind of like once you approach me, you need to know what you're doing out here. And a lot of you men don't know what you're doing out here. You don't know what you're doing. And you keep getting rejected by women because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to treat women. You don't know how to talk to women. That's why you keep getting rejected. You're coming. We see the red flags on you, men. But instead of you changing the red flags to green flags, you keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Hoping and expecting some woman out here will just deal with you just like you are. And we're not dealing with you just like you are. Either come right or don't come at all. That's my motto. But no, I don't teach nor train men. I don't educate or school men. You don't know what you're doing with a woman, stop approaching women. And then a lot of you men are childish as hell. You may be 40, 50, 60 years old, but you have the mindset of a 12 and a 13-year-old. And no wonder why most of you are attracted to younger children, because it's your mindset. Your body may be aging, but your mind sure in the hell ain't. And that's why we call the majority of you men child, because it's just what you are. You're men children. I didn't raise my children, men. I didn't raise all three of them. All three of them have been raised. And I'm not about to raise a man. I'm not about to raise. I don't raise men. I don't raise men. Your parents should have raised you into a man. And I'm sorry they failed you as a young boy, as a young man. But that's not women's responsibility to mold you into something that you should have been. Unfortunately, ladies, a lot of these men will never grow up. They will never grow up. They will never mature into men. Because they're stunt, they're emotionally inept, they're mentally inept, and they have all kind of issues going on with them, not only mentally and emotionally, spiritually and physically. They're coming with problems that I'm not signing up for. And women tell you men all the time what we need and what we want, and you still ignore that. You still ignore it. I don't need a man to think for me. I can think for myself. I can make sound logic decisions, emotional decisions, mental decisions without you telling me what to do. And that's why you men cannot stand educated women, because you don't want a woman who's smarter than you. Because the longer a woman is single and celibate, the more smarter she becomes, the more IQ intelligent she becomes. And there has been studies proving that the longer a woman has been single, the smarter she becomes, the more clarity she has. Because she doesn't have nut juice running through her brain. Unlike women who are obsessed with sex with you. I'm not obsessed with sex with you. You men are, because you're operating in lust, not love. And that's why we say most of you are not capable of love, because you don't know how to just see women as human beings. You just see a woman as a whole and wetness and thinking you can get your feel good there. And that's not how we're doing this out here, man. At least take a woman out on a date and show some gentleman traits, and then maybe she'll give you some ass. But you coming and just expecting that on day one after 3 dates, you're not entitled to that. You're not entitled to that, men. And you think you are, but you're not. And we don't care about all these threats about what you're going to do and how you're going to do this. Well, go ahead and do what you think you're going to do and watch how that goes. Because I promise you, I'm not sparing you, men. You come at me disrespectfully, or you put me in harm and my children in harm, somebody going to be coming to identify you, and you will be getting buried. You will be getting buried. You will be getting buried. You will be on the front of somebody's t-shirt. Your mama, your grandma, or somebody going to be coming to identify you. So either you men need to do two things. One or two things. You either need to evolve and grow and work on yourself, or you can choose to go down a path that may lead you to nowhere, but to a 6-foot grave. And I hate to say that, but I mean, if these men, ladies, don't change, that's where they're going. They're going to end up in a nursing home or end up in hospice care, especially sitting down listening to this garbage online all day with these toxic men. These toxic men who don't have wives and don't have families and can't be in successful, happy relationships or marriages with women. And or they're going to end up 6 feet under. If they think they're going to get out here groping and putting their hands on women and doing all this stuff. And see, men, what has happened is all of your actions that you've been doing over the decades is coming back to bite you in the ass. That's called karma. You can't get out here and do women wrong and then not think you're going to have a good life moving forward. I don't know one man who has wronged or mistreated a woman and had a great life thereafter. But I know many men who end up with cancer and end up with sicknesses that they never had. I knew a guy Every time we would talk, this happened 10 years ago or so. We were real good friends. And he would talk bad about women, bad about women. I mean, real bad about women. He was a player type. hmm And he was very disrespectful to me. And I cut his ass off. He was a white man. 6 months later, he reached back to me from an unknown number to tell me he had cancer. And he wanted me to reconcile with him, and I couldn't do that. Because my thing is, when you wrong me, I don't want nothing to do with you. And he treated his baby mama bad and their kids bad. He wasn't even with her. 3 months later, that dude had died. 3 months later, that dude died. I mean, we hung out and all that stuff there prior to me knowing he had cancer. And maybe that's why he was the way that he was, but it didn't justify his behavior. 3 months later, that dude died. You men better be careful how you get out here and treat women. You better be careful because we're at a point right now, you getting out here hurting women is going to cost you. But you think you can get out here and wrong a woman and then think, oh, you God gonna bless you with another good woman. That doesn't happen like that. And a lot of times God does bless you men with good women to change you, to mold you into the man that God wants you to be. But you're too stupid and arrogant and ignorant to see that. You end up fumbling your blessing that God has given you a gift. You end up fumbling that. I mean, there are women who are ready to level you men up, but you're too stupid to see that. You end up fumbling these women and you never get that gift back again. Because now you got to prove to God that you can handle something of that magnitude. But you're too stupid to see that. And that's the reality. Unfortunately, ladies, these men are going to have to learn the hard way. Because I told you guys, I don't really see them changing. They're going to keep doing the same thing they've been doing out here in the playing field. You got men in their 40s and 50s still out here playing games with women and on one banana peel and one foot on the grave. I wish you men the best. I really do. I stand on what I said and have been saying on here that women need to decenter you and not deal with the majority of you. If you men were going to change, you would have done that decades ago. You're not going to change. You're still doing the same thing, old tricks, new way. And it's time for women to just leave you men alone. And that's why 4B is here. And unfortunately, we know that the majority of you are just not going to go away and leave women alone. So, ladies, get protected. Get protected. Because they're not going to just leave women alone because you want them to leave you alone. I am convinced that the majority of men are obsessed with women. And they can't just leave women alone because they need women. And their ego is not going to allow them to say that. So they'll project and say, it's you that need us. It's you that are lonely. It's you that are going to die alone. No, it's you men who are. Single women live long. We do. Women who are attached to you, they don't live long. You men who don't have a woman, you don't live long either. Good luck, men. Y'all have a good Saturday. I'm about to cook, watch my Lifetime movies, and be at peace. I am done packing. Thank God. I just got to sort some clothes, and we're done packing. And there may be a change of plans. We may be moving out a little bit sooner than what I've expected. But we shall see. We shall see.